Hello class, welcome to another episode of the Creakers. I hope you've had a fantastic day again. I have here just enjoying the sunshine. It feels very hot today, so it's been quite nice to sit out in the garden and get some work done. And I've loved seeing all your work. So thank you for all the videos from this week's How to Cheer Someone Up. Absolutely brilliant. Lots of bug hunting I hear going on, so that's fantastic too. So well done. And let's carry on with the Creakers, shall we? Okay. I think you've had enough of that for one day, Lucy said. Yes, Mummy, said Lucy's mum, mocking Lucy for being so bossy. Don't call me that. Don't call me that, Mrs. Dunkston repeated. Stop it. Stop it. It's not funny. It's not funny. Why are you being so annoying? Why are you being so annoying? I'm not annoying, you are. I'm not annoying, you are. Lucy folded her arms and let out a frustrated sigh. Her mum was acting like a spoilt child. OK, I'm a big fat idiot, Lucy said. Mrs. Dunkston burst into uncontrollable giggles, pointing and laughing. You're a big fat idiot, you're a big fat idiot, she said merrily. Lucy looked with worry at this grown woman in front of her, this lady who looked like her mum. What has this place done to you? She whispered. Oh, lighten up, grumpy pants. It's just a bit of fun, said Mrs. Dunkston, poking Lucy in the ribs. But this wasn't fun, not for Lucy. Not one bit. In fact, it was as far from fun as possible. Can you imagine your mum or dad pointing at you and saying, you're a big fat idiot? It might even make you want to cry. Which is exactly what Lucy did. Big fat idiot tears welled up in her big fat idiot eyes and plopped out in massive drops down her cheeks. She sobbed so hard she couldn't even see. Everything was too much, too out of control, too overwhelmingly stressful. All these responsibilities had fallen on Lucy's shoulders so suddenly she didn't even know where to begin. Saving the grown-ups, looking after the Whiffington kids, confiscating dangerous items, trying to keep the place tidy. Was this what being a grown-up felt like? Maybe the Walleb is changing me too, Lucy thought, suddenly. If this place is making the grown-ups more childlike, then isn't it possible that it's making me more grown-up? She shook her head angrily. If this is what being a grown-up feels like, then no thank you very much, she cried. Being a grown-up is rubbish. Just then, she felt a hand on her face. A kind, warm hand wiping away the big fat idiot tears. Once the tears cleared, Lucy's heart seemed to melt a little at what she saw. Her mum was staring right at her, a look of astonishment on her face. Mum, said Lucy. My little Lucy Pops, said Mrs. Dunkston, sounding like the woman Lucy knew. What happened? Lucy asked, wondering why her mum had suddenly woken from the strange Walleb magic. I can't really explain it, Mrs. Dunkston said, scratching her head. One minute I was feeling all excited about riding these roller coasters, and then I heard something that made everything else seem unimportant. What was it? You, Mrs. Dunkston said. But I was calling you and trying to speak to you, Mum. Really? I don't remember that. I just remember hearing you crying. It's a sound that's always made me so unhappy ever since you were tiny, Mrs. Dunkston said, pulling Lucy in for an enormous squishy cuddle. Lucy? Yes, Mum? Where on earth are we? Mrs. Dunkston gazed around at the mayhem surrounding them. Grown-ups were sprinting about carelessly, screaming at the top of their voices, and were generally being as ungrown-up-like as they could be. Actually, Mum, we're not anywhere on Earth. We're below it, Lucy said, and quickly tried to explain all that she had learned about the Walleb and the Creakers who lived there. That's why I'm here, she finished. I've come to take everyone back home. If you think this place is bad, wait until you see what the kids have done to Whiffington. Oh no, what's happened? Mrs. Dunkston asked. Lucy took a deep breath. Well, there are 3 sharks in Whiffington Pool, thanks to Jackson Jilly. Billy Noshling's been stuck in a crisp vending machine for 2 days. Ella and Norman have been knocked out by dozy dust, and as a whole, Whiffington is pretty much a hazard to the health of anyone who sets foot in it. Lucy explained. What about my son? Said a worried voice from behind her. James Crackney. Lucy whirled round and came face to face with an anxious-looking man in a polka-dot pyjamas who appeared to have bits of candy floss stuck in his beard. She couldn't believe it. Had another grown-up snapped out of the Creaker's spell too? And my daughter Suzanne, I think she's in your class, said a lady in a stripy nightie stepping towards Lucy. Lucy looked around and realised that a handful of grown-ups had started listening to her. As she described the awful mess Whiffington was in, more and more faces began to turn her way, their eyes lighting up with interest and recognition as they woke up from the twisted Wolleb magic. Fetch me my clothes at once, ordered Mayor Annoying. We must get back up there. Fetch your own blooming clothes, snapped Mrs. Annoying, the mayor's wife stepping out of the crowd. Oh yes, of course, my dear, the mayor bumbled. Lucy smiled. The Wolleb's powers were fading. The grown-ups were growing up. Not only that, Creakerland was fading too. As Lucy watched, all the roller coasters and wonderfully delicious smells transformed into what they really were, as if a strange mist was lifting. Suddenly she was surrounded by hideous piles of junk and rubbish, pumping rotten smells into the thick, pungent air. A second later, the ground started to wobble. Lucy had felt this wobble before when the spider on the map moved its crooked legs. The Wolleb is moving, Lucy cried. She was right. A huge tunnel twisted open in the gnarled walls next to where Lucy and the grown-ups of Whiffington had gathered, and Lucy glimpsed a row of small gleaming eyes looking at her from the darkness. What's going on? Mrs. Dunstan cried. It's them, Lucy said, pointing at the eyes. Who? The things that snatched you and brought you down here, Lucy said. It's the Creakers. Oh, you see? Yep. Oh my goodness. How are you getting on? Sorry, I've not spoken to you for a while. I've been busy writing this story. And I guess you'd be busy reading it. It's all getting a bit topsy-turvy, isn't it? All this upside-down, backward stuff. In fact, if you turn this book upside down and read this page backwards, it tells a nice story about fluffing kittens. Oh, let's try it. Only joking. Just wanted to see if you'd turn the book upside down. This Tom Fletcher's a funny guy. Chapter 22. Trapped. Grunt, Guff, Scratch and Sniff leapt out of the hole, followed by 10, no, 20, wait, 50, okay, hundreds of black slimy creatures erupted onto Main Street, Creakerland grimacing at the grown-ups as they circled them intimidatingly. So the trick's up, innit? Grunt hissed. The humans be seeing the Wolleb for what the Wolleb really is, Guff said, flicking his chubby, pointy tail. The grown-ups backed away, terrified of these hideous monsters, for it was the first time they had seen the Creakers. Let us go, demanded Mayor Annoying. The creatures burst into what Lucy recognised as Creaker laughter. That very moment, enormous rotten roots burst out of the soggy ground around Lucy and the grown-ups, and shot up into the air, where they twined together tightly. They formed a giant cage around the grown-ups, with Lucy hiding somewhere in the middle of the crowd. We're trapped, she thought. Now where's the kiddling? Grunt hissed, and Lucy's heart sank as she realised that he was no longer wearing her old dad's coat. He must have delivered it to the Creaker King, she thought. Stay out of sight, Lucy Pops, whispered Mrs. Dunstan to Lucy, pulling her close. But as soon as the words left her mum's lips, Lucy felt the muddy roots beneath her feet start to rise. They lifted her up into the air, above the grown-ups around her, trying to reveal where she was hiding. No, Lucy! A few of the grown-ups whispered, as they fought to hold her down to keep her hidden. Wait, Lucy said, her mind racing like an engine. I know what to do. This is the Wolleb's power. It's backwards. She took a deep breath and yelled at the top of her voice. I'm right here, look, easy to see, clear as crystal. Lucy, what are you doing? Mrs. Dunstan gasped in horror. It's okay, Mum, look, said Lucy, pointing to the Creakers. They were all looking angrily in Lucy's direction, but thanks to Lucy, using the Wolleb's magic, they couldn't see her at all. I think I'd like to stay right here, Lucy announced loudly, just as she and just as she'd hoped, the roots dropped her back down among the crowd. You have to do the opposite of what you really want, explained Lucy to the puzzled grown-ups. Go backwards to go forwards, go up, down to go up. There you go. Hide and you'll be seen. Try to be seen and you'll stay hidden. Over here, come and get me! The Creakers growled with frustration as they realised they were being outsmarted. Tricksy kidderling, Grunt hissed. We be coming back for your little human, scoffed Guff. We be coming back with, began Scratch. The king, croaked Sniff. The king knows what to do with these pesky kidderlings, snorted Grunt. Lucy's heart leapt like a frog as the Creakers disappeared back down the tunnel to summon their leader. She didn't want to be around when they came back. Once the last Creaker had vanished into the Wolleb, all the grown-ups turned to look at Lucy. Dozens of worried, desperate faces stared at her. What do the Creakers want from us, Lucy? Asked the Mayor, who had managed to find his pyjamas and was hurriedly putting them on. Mess, Lucy said. Stop there for today. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Bye-bye.